so I have been speaking about for the last 7 or 8 minutes about the different areas of the world and how the ancestors of the tribes, thousands and thousands of years ago, got into a particular diet that was according to the place where they lived, like the example with the Inuits in the far northern regions, whose diet was mostly whales. The blubber fat was their most important diet. They probably had a diet consisting of at least 80 or 90% of fat, and they were very healthy with that, and otherwise, protein of the animals that they caught from the ocean. And, since it's mostly frozen up there, there is no plant food. There are no fields there. And so those people were super healthy on this. But then I also said, and then there are others, throughout the world that are in certain regions that were used to, according to what they had available, a certain kind of diet. And then when the United States got occupied, so to speak, when the First Nation, the American Indians who roamed the prairies and the beautiful, huge, this huge country, which we call the United States today, and Canada, actually, this whole, almost a continent. At that time, their main food was animal food, the buffalo, right? They were hunting the buffalo, and they had a special relationship with their food, a special reverence for the buffalo. And they didn't just kill it for sport. They killed it to eat. And then they had certain rituals to thank the animal for giving his or her life to feed the tribe. So all of these, this relationship to food flew out of the window when in the modern days, about 80 years ago or so, 60, 70, 80 years ago, a food machine commercially exploded in the United States and Canada as well, but mostly in the United States. And everything got turned upside down. Packaged food. Do you remember the first TV foods that came all packaged and at the same time when the microwaves became popular, to have a microwave and put your TV food in there and eat in front of the TV? Oh my goodness. We thought that was so cool. But of course, today we know that that was probably the beginning of a very unhealthy and bad practice. But today I really want to go a little bit deeper into what we have already discussed. Not deeper, but I want to bring the opposites of the two areas that I have discussed in the last two episodes. One was the carnivore diet, and the other was the keto diet. I haven't really spoken about plant-only diet because this is, I will mention it more today because I know there are vegans, right? And they do not eat any animal product. They don't even have butter. They don't have eggs. They don't eat anything from an animal, even if the animal doesn't need to be killed, because the chicken, the hen lays an egg, and so for probably hundreds of thousands of years, humans looked for eggs the birds or the, in the wild, and because it was highly nutritious. So we really love eggs. Most of us love eggs. But vegans do not. They don't have milk. They don't have eggs. They don't have butter, any dairy, or anything that comes from an animal. So, but since plants, they eat a lot of carbs, right? Because carbs don't come from animals unless in the baking process, butter or eggs or anything is used, and they don't eat that either. So they have all kinds of restrictions of how they eat. We found that the vegan diet is not a healthy diet. First of all, there is no B12, vitamin B12, that we absolutely need for our nervous system, for all kinds of functions that the body needs in order to be healthy. So they have to supplement anyway with a lot of the amino acids and B12 and other things. And there is also a large amount of diseases. I don't want to go into this, but that are typical for people who are on a vegan diet. Now, the keto diet, and we talked about the keto diet in the last episode. If you want to learn more about that, please go back and listen to that. The keto diet is a combination of plant and animal. And there came a time, maybe about 20, 25 years ago or so, where I think Atkins, probably a little more than 25 years ago, the Atkins diet came up. It was one of the first one that I can remember that replaced the carbs with meat or with animal product, and very strict animal product, but not so much fat. So it was kind of extreme there too. But the keto diet then came about, and people realized that they had more energy with the keto diet. They had less allergies with the keto diet. They had less pain in their bodies with the keto diet, because here is what the keto diet says. And if you want to know more about it, listen to my last episode. There are different degrees of keto diet. You can have more animal products and less plant products in the keto diet, or more plants and less animal. But there is always a certain amount of fat that is higher than normal diets, the SAD diet, the standard American diet, comes as the abbreviation of it is SAD, and it is a SAD diet, the standard American diet. So in the keto diet, at least there is an emphasis on enough animal product and enough fat. There are plant food is in there as well, and nuts. Now, let me get to, we know that animal products, we humans are usually not allergic to animal products, except for some fish and some seafood, shellfish or something like this. But usually the allergies come from nuts and plants. And why is that? Because animals have been around for millions of years, and they have not really changed. Like we have not changed all that much. Of course, we have developed, but basically, if something would want to eat us, we have not changed tremendously in the last tens of thousands of years. And plants, with plants in the wild, animals have become very knowledgeable about what plants to eat and what plants not to eat. for example, one of the most restrict is the koala bear. The koala bear only eats really one plant food. And its leaves, it's all the nutrients the koala bear needs. We have had to learn what plants we can eat in the wild. I mean, this is thousands and thousands of years ago. And the mushrooms that are edible and those that are toxic. And I guess by trial and error, we found out what we could eat and what we couldn't eat. But then 11,700 years exactly like that, something happened in Egypt. Agriculture came about, and it started in Egypt. And now, people said, okay, we don't have to look for our food anymore. We can produce it. We can grow our own food. And that was definitely a plus. And it developed, and people didn't get sick back then. Because I think there was not this, it wasn't about how many varieties can we make of that food, or how can we change it, because there was no genetic engineering back then. It was just developing from an original plant, and almost like we domesticated animals. You could domesticate certain plants to be able to grow it and harvest it. And that process has been developed. And yet, in the plant world, I read a scientific paper that there are over 1 million toxins that have been discovered in plant food. And it doesn't kill you, except for some. It doesn't kill you immediately. Some of it can, but there is a toxicity that your body has to deal with if you eat that plant. And plants have toxicity within them to prevent to be eaten. I mean, animals usually can run away or can fight, or the snake can bite you. I mean, those with 4 legs, they run away and you have to chase them. Birds fly away. I mean, all of those animals, and in the ocean, they swim away, have a way to escape and to protect themselves from being eaten or consumed. Plants can't run away. So they have toxins in order to make whatever animal, including us, eats it, makes them unwell, sick. Now we have taken this and have turned it into something that has become less natural and more convenient. And we created all kinds of vegetables that never really existed before. I mean, we humans are so creative, and now, can you believe it? There is even meat produced in a petri dish, and it's not out in the market so much yet, but there is this thriving or this drive for some scientists to get away with animal product altogether and have meat that tastes like meat but is not meat, artificially grown. We are getting more and more away from nature, and that's the problem I want to make you aware of. We humans, like everything else, and nature have a symbiosis. We are so intrinsically connected. Intrinsically means we really need each other. And the further away we get and the more artificial things we create, the more stress we create on our system, because our bodies, and I have said it a million times, our bodies are ancient. Our whole system has been designed in a particular way, and we have not only grown, but we were thriving, except that the human species was so much taller, so much stronger, with strong jaws and perfect teeth and strong bones, until agriculture came along. So pre-agriculture, humans were taller, stronger, with a larger brain, a third larger than our brains today. What does this tell us? We are going backwards. We may think we are getting smarter, but we are slowly degenerating. And you know that we are all struggling with diseases that didn't even exist 100 or 200 or 300 years ago. Diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all of the degenerative diseases of the brain, Alzheimer's, dementia, you name it, rheumatoid arthritis, there is lupus, and there is so much that we are struggling with today. And of course, this is how the pharmaceutical companies are thriving, started to thrive and are thriving, because before there were just those who had knowledge of herbs and of tinctures and of ancient healing rituals, and what they needed to heal was much more simple. It was not, there were no degenerative diseases. And because we call them degenerative diseases, you know that we are degenerating, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't call it like that. So we have to go back to nature. We have to go back to something that that we have developed on in the first place. Otherwise, we are going to be extinct in probably not 1,000 years, but maybe only in a couple of 100 years. That's how it looks if we don't turn around, and if we don't create or replenish the soil that is totally deprived of its original nutrients. And if we then get away with not eating animals anymore, but so-called food, which is not food, but that is generated in a petri dish, our demise will be enormous. So plant or animal, because this is kind of the theme for today, to me, it is pretty clear. Animal product, if it's clean, which means it hasn't been raised with artificial hormones and in terrible conditions, but it was roaming freely in nature, and everything that is as original as possible, which means organic, has not been manipulated, is the healthiest for our system, for our bodies. And obesity, all of these horrific diseases that are skyrocketing and going into younger and younger groups of people suffering from it because they're starting earlier to eat that junk. I mean, you see babies, right, or toddlers with the packaged food, with chips and with all of the colorful sweets. I mean, this is horrific. Their beautiful young bodies cannot develop properly, and then of course the onset of these diseases, including obesity in children. This is all skyrocketing. Cancer in children. All of it is rising, and we have to stop and say, what are we doing? What are we eating? What are we doing to ourselves? And my verdict for plant or animal goes to animal, because we are not cows. We are not apes anymore. We do not need fiber, even though it's proclaimed, because there are companies that thrive on creating fiber, and tell you better buy it because you need it, otherwise you can't poop, for example. It's not true. It's not true at all. And I think many have problems because what it actually creates is it creates like a traffic jam in your intestines or in your colon. It is not the only thing that it could be, has some positive. Nothing is all bad. There is always something positive. Fiber can soak up some of the toxins that is in your other food because you cannot digest it. It goes, if it goes through you without any problems, it goes through you undigestible. Apes can digest fiber. We humans cannot digest fiber. Okay, I leave it like this because the time is up. My apology that I wasn't on earlier with the sound, but I think we will talk even a little bit more about this.